So most people associate car finance with purchases, but actually we also do a lot of refinance of agreements. And the refinance could be because there is a more suitable product, or is that there is a better value product, or it could be, in the case of Tom, the purchase has been made from an investment point of view, and as the market moves up, there is additional equity that can be extracted. Tom, obviously we've been working together for 5 or so years. The first ever car that you purchased was the Carrera GT, wasn't it?
Yeah, went in heavy with you guys. So yeah, the Carrera GT is a great example of that. Obviously I bought, I think it was actually around 2020 that the purchase actually went through. I think we started looking at it sort of 2019. And anyone that follows the market knows what they've done since. But actually I've been able to not only refinance, actually now at a better rate. So the recent deal I've actually just done with you guys, I'm saving tens of thousands a year in interest, but not only that, I've managed to release some equity out of it, which means I've now got liquidity and cash flow in my business that I can then look to invest and deploy elsewhere or on other things that I think might be doing well over the coming years. So actually releasing that and then going again, and but hopefully doing the same thing again, at least once or twice more down the line. Yeah, it's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. And actually, going again with the same lender, often there's not really a huge amount of paperwork to be done either. So it's been pretty simple.
You've got that payment history, which is good, is what they want to see.
Yeah.
And especially, I guess, if you have a more complicated income profile, the fact that you've got proof of payment for 4 years, then that's only a good thing. The Carrera GT isn't an isolated case because you've done this with a number of cars. I know that you're very particular in terms of what you buy.
Yeah.
Are there any other examples you can share, or would you mind giving a bit more detail on the GT in terms of the values?
So yeah, the Carrera GT, ballpark figure, I bought it for around $500,000. And you know, now that car's probably worth bottom end 1.15, 1.2 thereabouts, probably get up to about 1.5 for it. But I truly believe that those things will be 2.5, 3 million. You know, it's Porsche's McLaren F1, it's their sort of peak moment for me. You look at the 959 and the 918, either side of that car, they're actually trading for around the same, if not more, than the Carrera GT, which makes 0 sense. And I think we'll see some sense being made over it in the coming years, because I think, you know, the Carrera GT with the F1, there's so many reasons that car should be stratospheric. It's their F50.
I mean, obviously, you know, we wouldn't ever offer investment advice around this.
No.
And I know that you don't either. You know, you just look at you take your personal opinion, you buy what you think is right. But, you know, the growth that you've seen on that, minus your holding costs, you know, it's a pretty good investment if you
Absolutely. And I structure them in a slightly different way. I actually buy them with my business. So they are passion assets, but they're also, there's real kind of business, I would say acumen, that's probably giving myself too much credit, but there's a real kind of business decision behind it as well. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a place where I can do something that I absolutely love, and the numbers are making great sense. And I'm seeing it again on a lesser level with SLS, AMG. I know you're partial to an SLS as well. Yeah, I think they are great buys. I think they're still great buys. I think they're still undervalued. That's my personal opinion. Might be right, might be wrong. But I bought a great time on that. So I'm actually looking to do a similar thing as I've done with the Carrera GT and release a little bit of cash out of my SLS AMG as well. And I do think as well, even though the ship has sailed slightly, 997 GT3 RSs as well.
Which you've got one?
Yep, I've got one of those as well. Bought years ago, got it nice and cheap. So definitely the right way on that. But I do think that era of kind of 2005 to 2015, you're kind of last of the analogy type cars when tech was just coming in but hadn't spoiled it for the purists.
Yeah.
And particularly cars around 2008 or cars that were being ordered around 2008, obviously with the financial crash, they weren't producing that many numbers. People weren't ordering silly cars like that on the whole. So there's fewer of those about, whereas a lot of the luxury manufacturers these days are just hoofing out cars.
That's a good tip, the 2008 point. I've not thought about that. And in terms of, you mentioned that you buy them in the business. Obviously your setup is a bit different because you generate a lot of your income from YouTube, and you know your online profile is very dependent on the cars that you drive and the brand deals that you get, etc. So that's why you buy them in the company, isn't it?
Yeah, that is, and there has to be 100% business use. So I get told off by my audience endlessly, drive it more, but I've got to have business reason for driving the cars. They've got to do all business mileage. So zaps the fun out of it a little bit, but that's the only way I would be into these cars because it doesn't work for me to do it personally.
So the Carrera GT, you got it at the right time. You've seen great growth on that, and that will continue to go up. The 997 RS, brilliant. SLS, Like you said, we're partial to one of those. What are you looking at the moment? So still cars are from 2008, but is there anything else that you've got your eye on that you think might pump a bit?
I do, and if anyone follows this and I'm wrong, I do think your sort of 2005 odd Ford GTs.
Right.
I think they might be a good shout. Again, SLS, 997 GT3 RS, Ford GTs, I don't think it's going to be stratospheric. I don't think they're going to be the 2, 3, 4, 5 million pound cars that, you know, the Carrera GT and that kind of ilk are going to be. But I do think in terms of what people are going to be lusting after and the kind of generation that grew up with those cars that might not have got rid of their kids yet, that are still having to be a little bit sensible with their money over the coming years, once they get rid of them out the door and they've got money to kind of splurge on things and go for those things that in their formative years they wanted. I think that kind of era of car.
And what kind of money are they at the moment, roughly?
I think they're between, I think you can buy a dog maybe for sort of 250 odd.
Right. And you can see seven figures at some point in the not too distant future. I appreciate that this is not
financial advice. However, I don't think
in
seven
your opinion,
figures.
no.
No, I think foreseeably in the next 5 years they could easily double in value.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad to buy something that free mileage is the best mileage, right? You know, if you get into something and it goes up and by the end of the ownership experience you paid nothing for it,
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable. So yeah, I am circling them at the moment loosely.
Maybe we should put this out then before you decide to buy one, in case the prices do increase if...
Hopefully there'll be a delay on the edit.
Yeah. So there are any investments that you, or any purchases that you wish you had made, Tom, that, you know, the one that got away? Anything springs to mind?
Very definitely. I actually drove one on my channel the other day, Lexus LFA.
Right.
It's a car I've been wanting to drive for ages, and there was one in the collection when I was buying my Carrera GT
Yeah.
that was available to me. I couldn't stretch to it at the time.
So
I
4 or
wish I
5
had.
years ago, roughly, where was that at?
It was sub 400.
Sub 400, and now they're going for...
The one I drove the other day was a 7,000 kilometer black car from Japan, right drive, 950,000.
Wow.
So yeah, you know, best part of 600 grand up in 4.5 years.
But I guess if you could only buy one, you made the right choice with the Carrera GT.
Yeah, definitely. And at the time I knew that the Porsche branding and that kind of that V10 in that car was going to be probably a better bet.
Yeah. That's really good. Interesting to hear your insight, as always. You know, you always seem to be right. I know, I'm sure there are a few that you've called that haven't worked, but, you know, all the stuff that we've seen has certainly been right.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to refinance assets that you have, whether there's financing on them at the moment that you're looking to potentially extract some equity from, or perhaps even you own outright and we can look to raise finance, please speak to Charles and Dean and we would be gladly to help you.